I'm super honored to have here a very special guest. Today we have Claudia Tapia with us. Claudia Tapia is IPR Policy Director at Ericsson. She's the president of Therapy Council. She's an executive coach, speaker, writer, lecturer. And I'm really happy to have you here, Claudia. So
thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. So to begin with, I'd like you to answer us, who is Claudia Tapia, apart from all of that I already said?
Okay. So I'm half Spanish, half Argentinian. I'm the little one of 4 brothers and sisters. And I'm here living in Germany since over 21 years. So I feel that I'm a mix of different cultures, different places. I love to be with different cultures and learning from other people. I'm, as you can see, quite enthusiastic in the things that I see, and I'm someone who sees mistakes as an opportunity to learn and to grow. That's me.
That's nice. Thank you. And as a person that is close to you in the everyday life, I can say that I see all of that. So it's really nice that we can reach also the public in Brazil, because this is our first international interview.
Oh, yes. Cool.
And Claudia, what motivated you to go to law school? You told us that you are half Spanish, half Argentinian, and living here in Germany for 21 years. So let's go back and talk. What made you go to law school?
Well, actually, it starts with when I was 6 years old. And so I like to tell stories, so why not tell it here? I was in a birthday party, and we were trying to decide what to do, you know, all these serious discussions that you have with your friends when you are 6. And I had my vision, what I wanted the whole group to do, and someone else wanted to do something different. And I was bringing all my arguments, and there was a moment of time that the whole group came into my position, and they started to attack the other girl. You know that children sometimes are a little bit mean. And I felt so sorry for her that I started to defend her and bring her position. So my mom was sitting there with other parents, and she looked at me and she said, "Oh, I didn't know that we had a lawyer in the family." And I didn't even know what a lawyer was, but that was the first time I heard that I had these skills for a lawyer. And I think I grew up with all these principles of fairness and have everyone the same possibilities and opportunities and justice. So I guess that was the clear path for me to go. And since then, I'm a lawyer now with a title. With 6, I didn't have a title, but no, I didn't have it.
That's nice. And with all your background already, with 2 cultures since you were born, what motivated you to move to Germany? Well,
at that time, when I finished my studies, I started to work in a bank, and I was in charge of foreigners, foreign customers. And I realized with Germans, somehow I was good at it, but I felt something was missing. My German was not good enough, and I felt I didn't really understand how the culture was there. So how to sell the product. So my goal was to come here to Munich for 1 year only, and then improve my German and understand how they communicate, and what do I need to understand the do's and don'ts of business with Germans. And this is why I came, and I fell in love with the city, and I decided to stay another year, and this has been since quite a while. So I stopped counting the years, just staying here and say when I want to go back, I will go back. But for now, I like to be here.
I totally understand. And I mean, we are now in summer in Munich, so it's amazing. The sun is shining, but we know that yes, but we also know that sometimes there are some challenges when you move to a new country. So what were some of the challenges you you experienced moving to Germany?
Well, it was really hard because at the beginning, you know, when I was in Spain with the German customers, they were also happy that someone spoke some German, that they were super polite and very patient. And when I started to come when I had my first job, and that was in Marienplatz by the Deutsche Bank, and I was into the shelter, and people came very stressed during the break time, and they didn't have any patience at all. They were very rude, some of them. They were throwing the card and saying, I want money. And I was totally shocked. They told me things like, bring someone who can speak German, or bring someone who knows what they are doing. And I had a colleague of mine, German one, who was crying every single day. That was a very hard learning experience, let's say this way. Mm-hmm. And so it took me a time until I get to know other German people who were very polite, very nice, and with whom I had a lot of fun, and I understood which sensibilities and how can I defend my position, and how to deal with all the situations. But the beginning was very, very difficult. But I think that's part of the journey, right? When you overcome that, then you feel strong, and the next time you have the next challenge, you remember the other one. I said, okay, if I got over this, I can get over everything. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think although there were those difficulties, you enjoyed your time in Germany, you did also your master's, and then you started your PhD. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience as a PhD student?
My experience, yes, I was very lucky because let's say this way, I managed to get a grant at Max Planck Institute. So I had an office that I was sharing with colleagues, and I had a lot of liberty. They were not controlling what we were doing. So that's how I learned to have my own discipline, because otherwise you can spend a lot of time with zero result. I had times where I really enjoy it because a PhD is an opportunity to get into the deep depth of a topic. And I had times where I was super frustrated because I started later. I had been before working in 3 years in the bank. So much of the students were much younger. I felt that I have to hurry up, and I started the PhD, and I felt this is mission impossible with this topic. Then some months later, I felt, oh, this is very easy. I have a lot of ideas. And then I continued studying. I said, oh, my ideas don't work. And I got again frustrated. So it's a path where you're going like this all the time. But you learn also to be resilient. So it was a great experience at the end of the day, and I did a lot of interviews to companies, organizations, over 60 interviews. So that was a way to get some practical knowledge into the theory. Still, I was very confused because I was getting different messages from different companies. So at the time, I had the freedom to talk about everything, but I didn't have the practical experience to talk about it. And but it was fun. The end of the day was good.
It is super inspiring to hear that, because I know that you deal with many anxious students. So it's really nice, I guess, for all of us to hear about your experience, because sometimes we see ourselves comparing our paths to others. So it's amazing to see that you focused on your path and you made such an amazing thing out of it. So thank you for sharing that. And now
can I say something on this, if it's okay?
Of course.
I also spend a lot of time comparing myself with others, and I realized it just didn't bring me further. So I started to compare myself, with Claudia 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And with that, I have a much better and healthy way of developing. So I strongly recommended it. It's good to look at others and look for inspiration, but comparison in that sense, I don't think it's helpful.
Yes, I completely agree with you. And going a bit more specific now and talking also about your topic that you studied during your PhD, can you explain what a standardization patent is and what motivated you to become an SAP specialist?
Okay. Standardization patent. This is a patent that is essential to a standard, meaning that it's necessarily infringed when you are implementing a standard. Let me give you an example. You have your phone. Your phone, you know that when you are in a 2G zone, it's much more slowly than if you're in 3G, 4G, 5G. So each of these G is a generation of a standard, and each one is a big improvement of the previous one. But to create this, you need companies sharing their technologies resulting from massive investments in research and development. So obviously, before they share, they typically protect them with patents. So once they make these technical contributions, meaning when they bring their ideas to solve technical problems, to make the technology better, connectivity faster, and they are incorporated in the standards, all the members think this is the best solution, so they bring it there. Then this person has, this company has a patent which is essential to the standards. So each of these smart home manufacturers or network providers or the infrastructure, they are using that technology to build that connectivity. And they have this contributor has also a patent that is necessary for that standard. The good news is that they get access on fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory terms and conditions. So that's how the whole ecosystem functions.
And I want to tell our public that we will discuss a bit more. We will talk a bit more about that, but we know that we are getting technical. And the good news is that, as you can see, Claudia has this Instagram account, IP with Claudia Tapia, and there you can also learn about intellectual property. You can learn what a patent is. You can learn about innovation. So I highly recommend that you access her Instagram, and then you can learn even more. And following on that, Claudia, this field is still dominated by men as we see it, and you are there and you are thriving. So how is it for you to be in this field as a woman, and do you see changes in the past years in that regard?
For me now it's good. I feel respected. I don't feel treated differently because of being a woman. That was a very different scenario when I started in the field. I was much younger, and I think at that time we had more senior white men around the 60s, end of 50s, beginning of 60s, who we grew up with this idea that women need to be at home with the children and men are the ones to work. And I've been in several, not only one, several places where they asked me to bring them the coffees. And yes, so they were not even used to see a woman being representing the company in that part. But that was, of course, not all of them. I had also amazing, good experiences with men, very supporting and treating me as anybody else. So I had all these kind of experiences, some not so good, some good. And what I saw that changed a lot is that first, companies have invested much more into bringing a culture where there's more level playing field, where it's not only about women, it's about any kind of culture or sexual orientation or skin color, anything, you know, that at the end of the day we are colleagues and we are to be respected independently of anything or all beliefs and so on. So this has been a lot of investment from certain companies, I would say, some more than others. There's more attention into bringing more women into panel discussions. This is something I'm still fighting for. And I realized with the time that in general, people tend to invite those that they know. So if they have been in a panel with all men, they tend to invite, oh, they were good, let's invite them again. And they are not paying attention that there might be women who are super qualified, and because they never get a chance, they cannot prove that they are great. So I'm always trying to push a bit and say, okay, did you invite any women in the panel? Do you know these are the professional? And I'm bringing it a bit more into the visibility, I would say.
Yes, you are contributing actually to bring this diversity, and it's this message you're sending is a great message, because when I'm talking about diversity in Brazil and inclusion, it's exactly what you said. There is always this extra effort that you need to put in place to start with to bring diversity. So it's amazing that you're doing that, and you are like bringing attention to that, so that people don't go as they always do, but they start thinking, okay, who else can I invite, right? So it's good to hear. You are also the president of FRAND Council, which is a non-profit organization. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I can. So FRAND Council, as you said, is a not-for-profit organization or council, which goal is to make a link between IP and innovation. And the goal is to educate. So when we identify a topic which is relevant, that we need to have empirical evidence, we try to find one specialist in the field who can do some independent research. We also try to make this easy to digest material. So after you have this academic paper, we also have summaries. We provide also with infographics, and we organize webinars. So we're trying to feed the audience with different formats, so they can learn on IP in a fun way.
Thank you, Claudia. I also highly recommend that you check FRAND Council website. It's beautiful, the information is clear, and you can learn a lot there. If you are an SME, also there is a special section for you there, so it's quite interesting. And I want to tell you that I am looking sometimes here to my computer because I have a few questions from, yes, we got questions also from interns of this amazing program that you have developed, Claudia, with Ericsson and FRAND Council. Can you tell us about this project and what motivated you to start that? And I want to tell those who are watching us, I was part of this project, so I can assure you it's great, but let's hear from the person who created it.
Thanks. So at the beginning, I had one intern. So the idea was to hire someone for 6 months to do some research on a topic related to IP and innovation. And after these 6 months, then you have a paper that you can publish, and that's it. And that's how it started. But with the time, I realized young professionals, many of them, they are not ready for work life. They don't know how to do slides or present or deal with conflicts. And I say or because I realize with the interns, some of them, they have certain strengths, some others have other strengths. But if I look at the whole group, I cannot find someone who has all those skills. So be ready to see conflicts as an opportunity to improve our relationship via the dialogue, or be able to debate your position, being respectful, but making points. Be able to present, to talk, to engage with others, to have project management skills, or to know how to be a good team member, but also a good manager, and so on, to improve the business English. And as you know, we invite a lot of speakers to come and help us. So all these skills, they have been growing since I've been looking at some of the, as you said, some of them dealing with anxiety issues, some of them being maybe insecure, and how can we help each other? Because this program is not only from me to the interns, but this is more a venue where we all learn from each other. And I think that's the greatness of this.
That's amazing. And I can say that in my year, we were in 6, and we had 6 different countries represented.
Mm-hmm.
And we had professionals who were starting a career, professionals who were already, who had more experience. And as Claudia said, we all learned so much together. So this is a very enriching experience. And on that, Claudia, building a project from scratch is not easy. So what are some of the challenges you faced while building this project?
Let me think. I have to say my manager was very supportive. That's great. When you have this, it's a big step.
Great start.
Yeah. But at the end, it's also about organizing the time, because you're investing your time in something that you don't know if it's going to bring something to the company or not. So I invested a lot of my private time, I guess, at the beginning. I still do, I think, because sometimes I have a new idea of a new workshop and I want to do it, and during the week I don't have enough time. But I think the biggest challenge was to try to organize my current job with all these new ideas, new workshops, and yeah, making the space for this to happen. Other than that, it's been a lot of conversations with the students to understand what are the things that work well, the other things that could be better, and how can we do differently. And this is what makes every year a better experience, because we collect from previous years, we make some changes, and then we try again. And this is the part of leaving an ego aside, because of course when I've prepared a lot of workshops, and I invested a lot of my private time, and when you listen that maybe something didn't work out as you expected, a part of you is like, why? I did it so great. but then it's important to listen. Okay, but listen to all the other things that they said that they loved about that workshop, and listen to the perspective, and try to be in their place, and then taking that criticism and working with the researchers on how to tweak it for the next time, and then see that the next year you have a better experience and they love it more, and they maybe come out with other things, but then it's less. So every year you get a better response, and so at the end, when you leave the ego aside, is when you can really grow and bring the best experience to the researchers.
Yeah, totally. I must say that this experience with so much diversity, learning so much, I think this is like something that I wish every professional could have the opportunity to go through it. It's really, really great. And you have recently started your project on Instagram, so IP with Claudia Tapia. Yes. And I know it already, but I will pretend I don't know. And I will go and ask you what motivated you to start this project.
Well, it was actually by watching my nephew. He's 19 years old, and he watches Instagram. And at the beginning, I thought it was just for, watching women in bikinis, more or less. And then I realized he was using it also for educational purposes. And so when he wanted to learn things, he was going very often to Instagram. And he was telling me that the YouTube videos are far too long and they don't go to the point. And he just wanted to have something easy and fun to learn about certain topics. So I felt this is something I'm not covering. I don't have it in my radar. What we are bringing is for EP Council is a website. So we do need to connect. And the second thought was, to bring a platform where we can have young professionals like you to come. By the way, I'm also to invite you to come for one of the interviews, a platform where young professionals can share the knowledge, the know-how. I feel they don't have enough opportunities because many conferences want to be on the safe side and invite the experts who have been in the field for 10, 15 years. And I can understand that, but I'm missing the other part of the young professional with these fresh minds, with, yes, making mistakes, of course, we all make them, but bringing in some energies and new ideas. So that's why I thought, by the way, for those who are not aware, LM was a big help in all the brainstorming sessions at the beginning. So this is one piece of it is yours.
And I'm glad with that. It's my pleasure. And as you said, how are people supposed to acquire experience if they don't have those opportunities, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a great idea. And on your Instagram, one of the topics you are covering is the Internet of Things, so IoT, and standards. What is it about?
Well, as you probably know, the Internet of Things is basically connecting things being connected via the Internet. And one of the major pillars to work for this to happen is standards, cellular standards, so 2G to 5G. And before it was a topic which was basically for telecommunications, you know, connectivity, telecommunications, and they were the only ones really interested in this topic. But since more and more things are being connected, I'm talking, for example, connected cars, but also having for example, with the Uber, you have your Uber, you're in the restaurant, and you ask for this service, and then you see the car moving where you are. Or the fact that you have now in agriculture the possibility to see whether a field is humid, and if so, send information. Or the fact that in security or in health and education, you're having all these sectors being now impacted by connectivity. They are enhanced by connectivity. And because of that, if they are incorporating these standards, they need to pay licenses or have licenses agreements if they are the end product device. And they need to understand what are their rights and their obligations and how can they benefit from it. And this is why we started with this idea. And be patient, because I just started a few weeks ago, so I'm building the content. But you can join me if you want to. I love to have you there, the account. IP with Claudia Tapia. It's good. Doing some publicity.
Thank you, Claudia. And you talked about 5G, and I know for those who are watching us from Brazil, 5G was recently launched in Brazil, and I guess people are learning more and more about that. So can you share with us what are some of the opportunities offered by 5G?
Well, this is all connected also with the Internet of Things, because it's also for each generation is a big improvement from the previous one. And 5G is almost about instantaneous transfer of data. So if you have security, something based on security, you need the data transfer immediately. Imagine you have remote surgery. You need, of course, everything to happen immediately. Or cars avoiding accidents because the sensors transfer the information, or the intelligent transportation system, smart cities, smart health solutions, and so on. The IoT applications, this was a study from McKinsey stating that the IoT applications by 2025 will bring a revenue for developed countries of 9 trillion euros per year. So this is huge. If you look at Jim Farley, the CEO from Ford, he mentioned this is the biggest game changer for automotive. So it's a big improvement. It's great that Brazil is implementing it too.
Yes, absolutely. And it's fascinating because when you see, you mentioned a few examples of what 5G and connectivity due to 5G can bring. And as we talk, like the possibilities are unlimited. There are so many, and we need people studying that and innovating. So this is very exciting news. And Claudia, you are always talking about innovation. You are always innovating, disseminating knowledge, finding new ways to reach people and to connect people. So, and we have discussed a few of your projects. Apart from IP with Claudia Tapia, the program you have at Ericsson and for IP Council, and many others that I know. What are your plans? There are many things I know. What are some of your plans for the future that you could share with us? We are curious.
Yeah, you know that I'm not sure how what will end with that, but I realized in the last months there's one idea that it comes again and again. And I think this is how always my projects have started. I have something and it comes again and again and again until I say, okay, I have to deal with this. And the new thing that is coming is related to conversation I had with several HR people from different companies, that they were telling me, there's human resources, by the way, for those who don't know the abbreviation. And they were telling, I was talking about the need for people to see conversations about different interpretations of reality, so conflicts, as an opportunity to improve the relationship, and how important was that people learn methodologies such as the non-violent communication. And the feedback I got was, yes, it's super important, and yes, we need to incorporate them. But we have seen people knowing those techniques that still don't apply them. They just don't talk to people. They avoid those conversations because they are not comfortable. They don't know how they're going to end. And this is something that is keeping me kind of busy. And I'm trying to think, what can I do to improve the situation? What kind of workshops or dialogues are needed in order to encourage people to talk about how they interpret certain things, how do they feel about those, what do they need, express their needs in a way that it doesn't come aggressively, so that the other person doesn't feel that they need to contact and then the conflict escalates, but rather de-escalates, and even learn from each other and grow stronger after that conversation. So I'm not sure how it's gonna end with this, but this is the last thing that is coming again and again. And I guess I need to do something. So if you have ideas, please come to me, send me a message in IP with Claudia Tapia. I'd love to hear from you.
That's great. I want to see what will come from that, because I'm sure that something amazing is coming out of that. And as you said, communication is key. We are social beings, so we need to interact. There is this need, but at the same time, it can be difficult. And I think that something key to what you're saying is that the more diverse an environment is, also the more you have to think about how you communicate, because then maybe it's not as easy as it was, because you have the same culture or the same language. But when you see yourself in a situation that you're talking to people who are not speaking their first language and come from different cultures, then it's even like more of a challenge. So this is super important. So
definitely, I think the multicultural groups at the beginning are more challenging, in sense that even when you consider everything, your knowledge is limited. So you're trying to be your best, and based on your knowledge, you say something. And that's why it's so important to look at the body language, because sometimes they will not tell you, in particular if you're hierarchically in a position which is higher, they may decide not to say anything. So first creating that atmosphere that they feel they can come to you and tell you, but also to look at them. How do they behave? Do they go suddenly like this or like this? Or so, as you know, in the workshops that we do, we look also a lot to body language, because there are a lot of signs. People are speaking with the bodies. So it's important to look at it. And if you see that, then look for the conversation with that person. I said, look, when I said this, I saw you did that with your body. I interpret it as you didn't feel comfortable. Was something that I said something wrong, or could you explain? And because I really want to make sure that you're comfortable with me, and for me it's important that we all feel comfortable. I have no intention to harm your feelings, and maybe creating that atmosphere, the other person can come to you, and then you can learn something about that culture or that person. So in any case, it's great to look for the conversation.
Absolutely. And I cannot believe, but we are heading towards the end of our conversation, and I have the last question for you. So what advice would you give to young professionals that are entering the IP field?
Okay, what advice? When I started, and we talked before, you know, this main world, I tried to adjust. You know, I was wearing all my suits and trying to be more masculine, less feminine, and it just didn't work, because it's not that by doing that they respect you more. So my first advice is just be yourself, because people can tell when you are faking and trying to be someone else. And you yourself, you realize that, because you're not feeling yourself if you're not yourself. So my first advice is believe in what you are is good enough. And people will respect you when you learn to respect yourself. So be yourself, of course, being respectful with everyone and respecting all the cultures and thoughts, but keeping this part of you. Like in my case, I go to many conferences with a dress which is not black or blue. It have colors. Sometimes I'm the only one with a dress in a color, but that's me. So that's why I keep doing it. I don't care. The second one, and I think one that helped me a lot, is to look at compassion to me and to others. So if I see that I do a mistake, there's always this voice I have, and I think many have, like, how could you do that? That was obvious, and this is a big thing, and I start multiplying things. And I've learned to stop that voice and to challenge that voice, and to bring it to me into, okay, so I cannot change this. I'm going to try to do, can I solve this? And then if I can solve it, then I solve it. If I can't, then I apologize either to the other person or to myself. I'm not perfect. That's okay. What I have learned, what I'm going to do better next time. And I think looking at yourself with compassion and learning from it, and looking at others, allowing also others to make their mistakes and giving opportunities, I think it's a big key of success. So that's what I would suggest for young professionals.
Thank you. And on that last topic that you talked about, compassion, it's interesting how often it's easier for us to have this compassion for our friends, for example. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we don't have that with ourselves. So that's a great lesson and a great tip for not only young professionals, but professionals that have more experience as well. So
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, this is useful for everyone. That's a great tip, actually.
Yes, and if you don't know how to do it, it's very easy. You think that instead of you, a friend of yours have made that mistake. What would you say to him or her? As you said, because most of the cases, we are more compassionate with others than with ourselves. You will give that person great advice. You know, don't kill yourself. That's normal. Everybody makes mistakes. You will do better next time. And I do my coaching, educational training. They were giving us the example of babies. They said, you know, you have a baby who is trying to walk, and the baby falls down. And you don't see parents shouting at them, "What are you doing? You're doing it wrong. You should be standing." No, you see parents laughing and clapping and, "Come on, you can manage." And then the kid starts and walks again. So what would be the world if we will, treat ourselves the same way as we treat children when they are starting to walk?
Yes, I think this is something that we have to keep in mind, and it will be much easier to deal with ourselves and
Sharing each other.
Yes. Claudia, thank you so much. It was a pleasure and honor to have you here. We call it, when I interview people, it's on my Gente que Inspira topic. I have this topic on my Instagram, and you're definitely an inspiration. So I'm really happy to have you here and to have our first interview in English. And I look forward to also attending, as you said, the interview to discuss IP topics on your Instagram account. I thank everyone who is watching this interview with us, and I invite you again to visit IP with Claudia Tapia and also for IP Council website. Thank you very much, Claudia.
Thanks, Ellen, and thanks for having me here, and all of you who are listening, and please connect to us, because connected, we go farther. Right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.